We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, Aura the Informationalist.
Peace and greetings, people. This is Aura the Informationalist, and you're now tuned in to the Network of Awareness. And people, just to let you know, there wasn't a live episode yesterday, and this episode was distributed off schedule just because this is the holiday season, and for some reason, my allergies have been kicking in, and I've just been wanting to not do anything really and just taking a break. But, you know, this platform must continue. So I decided to do this episode that's off schedule because it's one that is important to me, because there's certain aspects that I relate to in this particular episode, which I'm going to make into a series. Now, today's episode is How the Truth Gets Corrupted. And I'm going to be covering a documentary called The Devil You Know. And it's a documentary series that Vice did. Now, Vice is one of those TV networks that has blown up in the past several years. And they give some great quality information. But what I noticed with them is they play a lot of devil's advocate. And I think they do that for the network. So it's almost like they're showing you all sides, which is great. But it always seems like they're promoting the propaganda side a little bit more than the truth side, even though they do provide you with some truth. But that's nor here nor there. I just figure I'd tell you where the source of information is coming from, that I'm going to play some snippets and some sound bites from. But this is the story of Sherry Shriner. Now, for those of you that don't know, Sherry Shriner was one of those people that had a Blog Talk Radio, that was on Blog Talk Radio podcast back in the days. And she passed away, I believe in 2018 or 19, from a heart attack. But her platform still goes on, and she's provided some great information. But the reason I relate to this is because some of the people that did follow her died, and some of them were people that followed her for a long time, and they blamed her for some of these people's death. They tried to say a lot of the information she provided was conspiracy theory. And we really have to get out of that conspiracy theory talk. So I'm going to talk about that because that's just a word that was created by the CIA. But what I'm also going to cover in regards to this is that when it comes to people like Sherry Shriner, they always start off very humble and with great intentions. But as their platform grows, there's something that comes out of them. And sometimes I think it was already a part of them. And it's narcissistic in its nature, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're narcissistic people. But most of the time they are. And the thing with Sherry Shriner is that she started off good, but it always gets funny with these types of people. And I know this because I used to follow a man by the name of Mr. Cortez that is just like her. And what I realized is that this dude stole a lot of information from this lady when I started doing my research, because I started realizing how he steals a lot of information and tries to make it his own. And when he makes it his own, it kind of gets dumbed down, to be honest with you. Even when he reads scriptures, it kind of gets dumbed down too. And when I mean dumbed down, I don't mean like a good thing for you to understand. I mean literally just dumbed down. But we're going to talk about the situation with Sherry Shriner and how truth gets corrupted. But also why it's important, and I say this all the time to all my brothers and sisters out here, all my network of Awarians that listen to the show. It's very important to follow the information on the platforms and to follow the platform for the information instead of following the platform for the people or for the person. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's always good to do your own research. It's always good to have a connection. I believe that a lot of my listeners, from what they've told me, people that I've been able to talk to personally, people that have emailed me, and overall, the overall feedback that I got from my reviews throughout the years is that I provide quality information. Sometimes it's entertaining, but I always talk about things that matter, and I present it in a way that can be understood, but in a way that is real authentic. And I give all praises to the Most High for that. But like I always say, don't follow the man. Don't follow me, right? Don't follow Aura. Because I'm just a dude that I've been through some things. I've seen a lot of things since a young age. I'm able to articulate it, and I've done a vast amount of research, and I continue to research things. And I continue to live in the United Shenanigans of America. So I'm going through the same struggle as many of you are. But believe it or not, this struggle that that's going on here is going on all over the world. So in my opinion, when it comes to this truth community, it's those that are going to connect, those that are going to understand, and then there's going to be those that hate. And when you have those that hate, the truth winds up getting corrupted. But people wind up getting corrupted that speak truth as well. So we're going to discuss all of that. But this is going to be a series, so we're only going to cover a portion of it. But we're going to get into it for sure. And this is just the first part, okay? So this is how the truth gets corrupted. Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
Okay, people. So what I'm going to do is I'm playing this documentary series that's from Vice, and I'm going to play it out. Well, not the whole thing, but I'm going to play little snippets, but I want you to hear the introduction to this. This is actually like a 6-part episode series that they did, but I chose to do the one that's called The Daughter of the Most High. This particular episode is episode 4 of season 2, which season 2 is all about Sherry Shriner. But this episode about Sherry Shriner is about her beginnings, where she came from, and how she gradually grew. What's interesting about this, and they talk about, is that Sherry Shriner, they said, estimated over $750,000 in revenue from things that she sold online, which primarily she sold Oregon. And we're going to get into that. But when it comes to this, people, pay close attention, because Sherry Shriner had a lot of great information. And any of you that ever followed Black Child on YouTube, Black Child would do great videography with text to describe all of the wicked things that go on in the entertainment industry, in the political industry, as well as the sports industry. He would combine all 3 elements and do these great videographies. And he used this man who I never say his name, I just call him by his government name, his real name is Federico Cortez, but he used a lot of his sound bites from his podcast for his clips. And he also used a lot of Sherry Schreiner's blog post podcast. So at this time, Blog Talk podcasting, Blog Talk radio was huge in the early mid 2000s, like 2005, 6, 7, 8. It's actually when I was actually doing real radio and streaming from the Rockland Report with the brothers at the Rockland Report in Pomona, New York, which, at that time I was doing my thing. And I wish I knew about Blog Talk radio because I could have got on there and really build my platform up from there. Even brothers from the BLCC have episodes from Blog Talk. So Blog Talk was huge at one time when I was on radio. I didn't even know about it until later on. But what Black Child did is that he basically took snippets from her, from Mr. Cortez, and a couple of other people, but primarily those two people, because they were talking about, the satanic worship that goes on in the music industry, as well as with the politicians, child sacrificing, blood sacrifice. I mean, he did such a great job of putting this out there. And Sherry Schreiner did a really great job at presenting a lot of this information. Now, so did Mr. Cortez. The only thing is that what I'm starting to realize is that Mr. Cortez stole a lot of information and then tried to make it his own, which is fine. It is what it is at this point. But, that's one of the reasons I don't follow his platform no more, because, I noticed he was doing it with my dialogue, with a lot of stuff from my podcast. And one thing about me, I don't know if it's just a New York thing and the way I grew up in the 80s and 90s, but you just don't bite off of other people. You either come original or you don't come at all. But the thing is this. That thing where people like to, the emulation is something else, ain't it? But the thing with Sherry Schreiner, and it's the same thing that happened with Mr. Cortez, is that these people start thinking that they are the son of the Most High in a way where they have a special connection to the Most High that nobody else does. And what you're going to find out about Sherry Schreiner is that not only did she believe that, but she also believed that she's the only one that can have a real deep conversation with Satan himself, and that nobody else was on that level. And there's this grandiose narcissistic personality that comes out in a lot of these people. And what I've been able to do, because I used to follow Mr. Cortez for years, and I've listened to Sherry Schreiner. I never followed her, but I've gotten to listen to some of her stuff. She's still on Patreon, even though she passed away. There's somebody else running her site. She's got Facebook and all that, and she's still on YouTube. If you want to check her out, she's got some really great information, especially when it comes to the Hollywood industry. But what winds up happening with these people is they start making shit up. You know what I'm saying? They give you a lot of valid information, but then they start feeling themselves, and that grandiose narcissistic behavior starts to come out, unfortunately. And a lot of times it comes out with their followers, and they wind up putting a bad taste in a lot of their followers' mouths because of the way they treat them. And something that the reason why I'm doing this episode, people, is because I've learned a lot from these people, especially when it comes to people that I used to listen to directly, like a Mr. Cortez, where there were so many times where I would listen and be like, damn. And this is obviously before I started my podcast and after I had, stopped doing radio. And I used to listen and be like, damn, I wouldn't do that. That was stupid. That was dumb. Especially the way they would treat their customers. It's like, if you have a customer, you don't put your customer on blast for somebody that's following you and wants to purchase your products. That's just stupid. You know what I'm saying? It's just dumb. And I've seen it bite this man in the ass a couple of times. I just think it's stupid. It's just bad business. But hey, to each his own. But what I was able to do before I even started podcasting was I was able to see a lot of these flaws in these people. Some of these flaws are despicable, to be in my own personal opinion. And I just was like, damn, that's shit that I wouldn't do. And all praises to the Most High, I have yet to do any of these things, and I don't plan on doing them ever. Because at the end of the day, I'm the type of person that I have a lot of empathy. So if somebody's going to reach out to me because they like the content that I'm putting out, I'm going to have some positive communication with them. And then, of course, if I have a hater, which I've had a couple of people, not that many hate on the podcast, but I have a couple of haters on TikTok and on Instagram. And I've had a couple of haters from, Mr. Cortez's platform and, just people that have very skewed perceptions of reality. And, I just blocked them, to be honest with you. Just like I blocked Monarch ex-woman, you know what I'm saying, from going onto my platform. Because at the end of the day, I just want to build. build. I like having building sessions. And if somebody can get great substance from the information I provide, that's the whole point of what I do, because I do this for the Most High. I don't really do this for people. I do this for the power and for the essence and the source of the Heavenly Father that gave me this gift and this opportunity to have this platform. That's what I do it for. And for those that are vibrating on the same frequency, they get it. Those that are on the same channel, they get it. Those that are seeking the truth and understand and use some common sense and understand that things are really upside down, they get it. People that study scriptures, they get it. Like, I have all different types of people that listen to my show from all different age groups. And I feel so blessed to have an audience like that is slowly growing, because my audience is a lot bigger than what it shows on paper. And the reason is because I get shadow banned. But at the end of the day, I'm just grateful that I have what's on paper there. And I know eventually I'm going to circumvent these algorithms that have shadow banned me and that have cut me off from getting credited. But at the end of the day, I do it for the Most High. So no matter what these demons try to do, I'm still going to keep pushing forward no matter what. And I'm always going to find a way, because where there is a will through the Most High, there is a way. And this particular episode on how the truth gets corrupted is going to be one that you should pay close attention to, because this can happen to any of us. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a platform. This can happen in just your life and how you deal with friends and family and people at work or whatever, in just your whole entire life. Because at the end of the day, it's really good to have knowledge and information, but it's what you do with it too. And it's how you humble yourself to spread that knowledge and be charitable with it, and not think that you're the best thing since sliced bread because you know something that somebody else doesn't know. I think it's ludicrous. But with people like Sherry Shriner, this is what happens. And then, yes, do we get under attack? A lot of us do, in many different ways. Are there PSYOP missions against certain people? Absolutely. There's all types of ways that the enemy fights. But this is what I believe. When you truly have a relationship with the Most High, and you truly have that love for your fellow brothers and sisters within this truth, and even for those that are not in the truth, that are just not awakened yet, and if you can forgive your haters and just move forward and just do what you do, instead of being spiteful and resentful and always having this grandiose attitude where you have this special relationship with the Most High, or you have these special gifts that nobody else has. I just feel like you tarnish all the good that you do when you start having that mindset, because that's not the type of behavior or way that the Most High is going to favor. You know what I mean? It's something that is going to lead to self-destruction. And a lot of people that get into the truth humbly wind up becoming egotistical little righteous haters, and then they wind up losing a lot, because they usually wind up reaping what they sow. And it's just a fact. And that's why I stay in repentance, because there's certain things that I've caught myself doing wrong throughout my podcasting years that I had to correct and repent for, especially when it comes to how I was talking about people that took the science appliance, that took the vaccine. I was shitting on these people so damn hard, and I had to check myself and apologize for that, because I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, these are still my brothers and sisters that have been misled. And yeah, even though they made a mistake, I cannot condemn them to the point where I start talking about these people like they're pieces of shit, because they're not. They're just people that got misled. They're people that trusted in something that wasn't real. And it's my job as a man of the Most High and as a messenger to let them know, like, hey, even though you made a mistake, these are some of the things to be aware of, and these are some options to help you out. And that's what it's about. So let's listen to this beginning part, and you're going to hear this from Sherry Shriner from one of her Blog Talk radio shows. And this is just the introduction to the episode of episode 4, which is Daughter of the Most High. Let's go.
The media wants to think we're a cult because we pray for God to show us and keep leading us into tearing down the stronghold of Satan and the New World Order, which greatly affects the alien age New Order that's coming. Well, but I think I do a pretty good enough job being able to warn you guys what they're doing.
And she does. She's done a great job. This was July 18th of 2017. But you see, her platform was like a cult. And that's why a lot of these people went crazy. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about that in other episodes. But I've talked about this in the past about Mr. Cortez and how his followers, and I got to experience that firsthand, that it was like a cult. And the reason being is because the way it becomes a cult is when people follow blindly. When people start hanging on to every word from one person, and that one person not only becomes the word of authority, which is fine because a lot of people are word of authorities. I'm a word of authority when it comes to this platform. But what winds up happening with these people, what makes it a cult, is that the followers follow them blindly and they can just basically say anything and those people go along with it. They start talking like the person. They start doing what they start pretty much following them on whatever they say. Like, for example, she's one of the people that told people to move to certain places. She told this one man that he should move to the Poconos, and he did. All right. He moved to the wilderness in the Poconos. Same thing like Mr. Cortez at one time. He was telling people that they should go to the mountains in Colorado and other places in Tennessee and all this, and that they should get camp gear. Then he switched it up. Then he wound up moving to Florida, which is not too far. He's not too far from me. But it's like one thing to another. And then people were starting to follow this blindly, not even like doing their own research and whatever. And he can tell you that, hey, I say this and I tell people that I'm just a man and all that. But they know what they're doing and they actually feed off of that. Just like anybody like an Oprah Winfrey. Certain times these people get such a cultic-like following that whatever the hell comes out their mouth is golden when it really isn't. And I've had several conversations with people like, I'm like, yo, this man could put out the most shittiest song like he has, some of the most shittiest music, and people think it's fire. When there was only a few songs that I liked, everything else was like, I don't know about that, bro, but it's okay. Hey, do what if he loves to do what he does, it is what it is. But when you have people that just go along with any bullshit that comes out of one person's mouth, that's a cult. That's where you're just like, holy shit. Like these people, like I had a brother, and I'm not going to mention no names because I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but I had a brother say that he would take a bullet for this man and he never even met him. He didn't even know him on a personal level. And that's the type of influence that a lot of these people that have these types of platforms have. And that's how it becomes very cultic-like. And you have these things now where, like she had on Blog Talk Radio, where it's just a platform, a digital platform that people are subscribing to and connecting to and having community forums. But people start to build relationships in those community forums. It happened to me. The beautiful thing about what happened with me, though, even though I got slandered, like some of the people from her platform, how they got slandered and outcasted. The beautiful thing with me, and I give all praises to the Most High for this, is that I actually had real conversations with people, and I actually got to meet certain people, and I got to build with certain people on a personal level, and they got to know that I'm a real person, that I'm not some government agent, like some of the people from that platform was trying to say. But that's the type of cult, because they could start, once one person shits on you, which is the leader of the cult, then everybody jumps on the bandwagon. There's only a few that are going to stray away. And I did have a few people that strayed away from that platform because they knew that I was a real authentic person. And they knew that a lot of this, what this man was saying was bullshit. But there was more that didn't. Same thing with Sherry Schreiner's platform. So you have to be careful when you're congregating with people on this level, because a lot of them are fake. And unless you get to know them on a personal level, you're really not going to know shit. So sometimes it's best that if you are part of some type of community or platform, you're just there for the information. And I could tell you, as I'm building up my community and my platform, and I'm not talking about this bullshit Spreaker chat room shit, because I could give a rat's ass about the Spreaker chat room. And there's no offense to the, shout outs to Sister Nama, shout outs to Sister Pam, and, shout outs to Sister Love Infinity and all the other people that have made comments in my chat room. I appreciate it, but I don't hang on to that shit. I'm building my community platform through my website, and I'm going to be building a new website, people, that's a little bit more interactive. So I'm going to be sharing that information within the next week or so. I'm going to be building this new website, and I'm going to do away with the old one, and it's going to be more interactive and newsletters and all that good stuff, right? But back to the topic at hand. It's so important, people. It's so important to follow the information on the platform. Follow the platform and not the people, because people are tainted. We all are. We're not perfect. We're living in the flesh. And because we live in the flesh, we make a lot of mistakes. And I'm not going to sit here as a messenger and tell you that, hey, I'm the only messenger for the Most High. I have this special relationship with the Most High. The Most High brings me on journeys to heaven and all. Nah, I'm not doing none of that. And I'm damn sure ain't talking to Satan either. But what I am doing is I'm fulfilling a purpose. And that purpose just happens to have a name, and it's called Network of Awareness. Let's go.
And what's going on. And for that, I'm hated. So you ask yourself, who hates me? They do.
When we think of cult leaders, we think of the Jim Joneses. You know, we think of these guys in robes with long beards and a lot of followers around. We think of retreats. We think of people approaching the authors of self-help books and asking for more guidance. That's not how things are anymore. Right now, if we want to know about something, we go online.
And I don't have a problem with that. I think a lot of people go online because the commercial platforms are full of shit. Let's just call it what it is. People who wants to go, you know, when I expose the news, that's exactly what I do. I expose all the bullshit and I let you know what they're really talking about opposed to what they're trying to express to you and want you to see them as. I go past the masquerading. But who are we going to listen to these days, people? All we got is each other, man. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people that are doing righteous things out here in the world, and you just can happen to find them online. You'd be lucky if they live in your community and you can establish a more personal relationship. That's great too. And sometimes that happens online. So I'm all for it. And this reporter, by the way, this guy's name is Tony Russo. He's a funny duddy to me. He's suspect. But this is what I was talking about what Vice does. And this is another thing too. Networks like Vice and all these major networks, TVs, they started out, but they wind up, I'm not saying they sold their soul, because I don't know. But whenever you got a lot of notoriety like this and you build major networks like this, you usually got to play the game. And Sherry Shriner talks about that, and she gives great information about playing the game. Now, they're going to talk about how Sherry Shriner used to want to be on CNN, and because she couldn't cut it, she wound up doing Blog Talk. I don't believe that. I believe that Sherry Shriner probably had aspirations to be on a talk radio show, just like David Icke was on one. But once David Icke woke up to the bullshit, he left. And Sherry Shriner just decided that that's not the way to go because she's not willing to sell her soul. Same thing with David Icke. And a lot of people say that David Icke sold his soul. Hey, I don't think he did. I think that David Icke be spitting a lot of truth. And I think that there's a great possibility that David Icke is just protected, you know, on a spiritual level. I could be wrong, but I never got that vibe because everything that David Icke talked about was stuff that some of it I knew, some of it I didn't, but I could connect to it because it was true. It was true. It was true. And Sherry Shriner, just like David Icke and many others, they're not the first people to talk about the industries. They're not the first people to talk about the music industry. They're not the first people to talk about these reptilian fallen angel beings that have taken over the world. They worship Satan. They're not the first. There's people that have been talking about this for over 200 years, if not more. Damn, the apostles were talking about this. Isaiah was talking about this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, brothers from brothers and sisters from the scriptures was talking about this. So this is nothing new. So when they talk about, you know, Sherry Shriner, this and that, a lot of it is bullshit. But the one thing that they was accurate about is how she started feeling herself. And that's why one of my favorite movies, and I always tell you that it is The Devil's Advocate, because what does Satan say at the end? And he says throughout the movie, vanity is my favorite sin, because that's the one that Satan gets most of us on. Especially those that have a lot of knowledge in a world where people are either seeking knowledge or not knowledgeable. All right, let's continue.
The Lord's protecting me and keeping me alive. Why? Because I'm a direct line to his people. I'm the one with the truth, folks. And no one else has this kind of access to him or heaven like I do, folks.
You just heard what she said. That's that grandiose narcissism coming right on out. And I used to hear that from Mr. Cortez. Oh, I have visions. I don't have dreams. And it's like, yo, okay, all righty. You know, you the one, you the man. You know what I'm saying? Who's the master? Show enough. And it's crazy, man. And I'm just grateful that I haven't fallen into those traps because it's so easy to, you know, I was told I was going to be a messenger at 18 years old. And it took me 2 decades to really grasp that understanding from the Most High. All right. And even now that I do understand it, I am just a messenger. Okay. But I am not no better than anybody. I don't have special access to anything like more than anybody else. And if anything, I want to inspire for the truth that's within you to have, so you can gain access to that so that you can be more connected to the Most High. That's the message that I spread for the Most High because I want you to understand that that light is within you. Once you figure that shit out, the rest is easy because then you start to see the world with your spiritual eyes instead of with your cardinal eyes.
We are in the last days. People need to get their hands on what the truth is.
People didn't go looking for Sherry Shriner. They went looking for answers, and she provided a silver bullet solution to all of their problems. And that, if anything, is what made her so attractive.
And it did. And she was giving out some great information, people. I mean, some really powerful stuff. But you still got to do your own research, because a lot of times, and I've seen Mr. Cortez do this, is they just throw out anything. They pull out their ass. And because people have been following them for a certain amount of time, they start believing everything they talk about. But not everything that they talk about is very accurate. Sometimes they're just coming up with their own predictions or their own opinions, but trying to state them as if it's fact and it already happened. You know what I mean? Just like, I remember one time Mr. Cortez said that Fat Joe sacrificed Big Pun, and that's why Big Pun died. But it's like, no, that's not why Big Pun died. Big Pun died because he was fat as hell and his heart stopped, you know? And that was bound to freaking happen. It was just a matter of time, and he kind of knew it was coming. He knew he was about to die. A lot of people know when something's about to go wrong, and that's when they want all their family around them and stuff, and they start giving people long hugs and all that. I've seen it. But you know what some people did? Oh yeah, Fat Joe sacrificed Big Pun to get... No, he did not. You know what I'm saying? Fat Joe was already a sellout by the time he met Big Pun. Just Big Pun really put him on that map. And then he continued to sell out and kept doing people grimy with their contracts and all that stuff with the record label and all that he's been doing. But because this man said it, it's got to be true. It's got to be true. So what happens is people don't do their research. It's the same thing with saying that, you know, that the tribe of Judah is just Negro people, when Negro people is a social construct. Melanated people were on all four corners of the planet. So a lot of your indigenous people in Americas and throughout the Caribbean were Hebrews too that left the Syrian enslavement. And there's documented information about this, but yet people don't do their research. And I can go on and on about that, but it's just to prove a point that this stuff, you just got to be careful, people, because when you follow information, it's going to do you a lot better than following who the information is coming from. Trust me when I tell you. So I'm going to continue here. This guy, Tony Russo, he's going to talk about Sherry Shriner a little bit. Let's listen up.
I like to just do my work. You know, I'm like the kitten that roars.
Pretty much everything we know about Sherry, we know because she told us. Sherry started her off.
You heard what he said? Pretty much everything we know about Sherry is because what she told us. It's the same thing with a lot of these people. But when you start digging to the core, see, something about me is that I was an avid listener and I paid attention a lot. It's just my way. I follow patterns. I listen closely when people talk to me. I'm like that with anybody. You know, sometimes people be like, you still there? You still on the phone? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still here. It's because I'm listening intently. I am listening to everything. I'm paying attention to everything. And with these people's platforms, I used to do the same thing. And I used to say to myself, we only know what they're telling us, but if you dig deep enough, you can kind of get a little bit of the type of person that you're dealing with. Some people, though, they don't go that far. And the reason they don't go that far is because they start believing everything that they tell you. So if a person tells you this and that, they just go along with it. And that's not good. But like he said, the only thing we knew about her is what she told us. And one of the things these people thrive off of, and I think it's a good thing to a certain degree, is to have some type of privacy. I think, you know, there's many radio broadcasters and podcasters and people on TV and influencers that they all have a private life. And there's certain things you should keep private because it's your personal business. And then there's other things that they're a little bit more open about. The thing is with these people is they keep a lot of things in the dark or in the secret or private because that's really what gives them the power. It gives them this type of mystique to this mystery. The mystery gives them power. The mystery draws attention. The mystery gives us this allure that they're somewhat on a higher level, and people feed into that. A lot of times people feed into that because most of society is very tribal. And I'm going to do an episode about tribalism. And a lot of times people will gravitate to people that they like or that are providing information that they can connect to, but they do it blindly. And that's what leads into cult-like behavior.
Online ministry early on in the 2000s, and over the years she grew it. She has several twists on tedious conspiracy theories, but then all of these people are dying, you know? And why does anyone care what Sherry Shriner says?
America is going to be destroyed, folks. America is going to be completely destroyed this whole Illuminati plan from the beginning, where Satan set up America to be his home country, and they've been working since then. They're underground bases, exchanging technology with our government, abducting our people, feeding off of us. They've owned America from day one. That's all I can say.
And she's right. She's absolutely right. And this is another reason why a lot of people follow her, and I could see that. And like I said, the only problem is when they get on their high horse, man. And that's where things get fishy. That's where things get corrupted. And they're going to talk more about that. But let's move on into because there's a couple of excerpts here. So this is a man who actually knew her when they was in college.
I received a phone call that asked me, hey, did you see the story of what happened with Sherry Coberly? And dude, I'm like, my brain.
And you see, that's another thing. They always have these other names, which is fine because a lot of people have pen names and stage names. Her name is Sherry Coberly, but now she goes by Sherry Shriner, which it could be her married name, you know? So she probably gave her real married name, but her name used to be Sherry Coberly when she was in college. And just like Mr. Cortez, he goes by a different name too that I never mention on my show anymore because I will never give him that clout. I'll never give him any type of attention like that. I'm always going to call him by his government name. But you get the understanding of it is that, you know, there's always a nucleus and a beginning to a lot of these people.
Couldn't even fathom what I was seeing online with what I knew of Sherry. I mean, it just, there's certain things when you have people change, then there's some people that like, whoa.
People want to know how it's possible that I could interview the devil. Then in my perspective, it's why not? He's been stalking me my entire life. He would go to my softball games. He was there when I graduated and watched across the stage to get my diploma, my degree. So you tell me who's more qualified to interview this loser. I know more about him than anybody on this planet. I can guarantee you that.
Listen, I actually read the notes when she had that interview with Satan way back when in 2005, I believe. This was in 2006, I believe. And I think I saw the notes in 2007, 8, or 9, somewhere around that time. Because I was going through, you know, I was dealing with a lot of things around that time. But it was a good time for me, man. And the thing is that you heard what she said. I'm the only one that can do that. I'm the only one. And this is that grandiose, narcissistic personality type right there. That comment alone. I'm the only one that can talk. Oh, really? You're the only one that can talk to Satan? All right. Great. Damn. Really great to be you. Like you have these special powers where you can talk to Satan. Personally, I wouldn't even want to talk to Satan. You know what I'm saying? For what? You know, if I could, I'd love to talk to the Messiah. But at the end of the day, my spirit is guided by the Heavenly Father because I am with the Heavenly Father. So I really don't need to have any conversations. The Most High paves the way, and either I follow the laws and the commandments and get a better understanding and get closer to what mankind is led astray, or I get led astray.
My name is Randy Sumner, and I knew Sherry Coberly, which was her maiden name before she became Sherry Shriner, during our time together as classmates at Liberty University in the mid-'80s. I grew up in Ohio, not terribly far from where Sherry grew up. Same kind of Baptist, fundamentalist kind of background, exceptionally conservative. We don't go to movies. We don't do any dancing. That was just kind of the culture, particularly inside of Christianity in that part of Ohio.
And see, and that's where Sherry comes from. So she came from a strict Christian family background. And just like Mr. Cortez, he got into the camps early on and got kicked out pretty quickly, right? Probably for a number of reasons. That's why so many people don't like him. I mean, this man's personality sucks. Let's just call it what it is. But that's nor here nor there. The point is that these people, they start from somewhere. And the same thing that I noticed with Mr. Cortez is that he's spitting the same doctrine that he learned over 25 years ago. And he's just, you know, adding his little spin on it. And it's the same thing that Sherry Shriner did. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you start thinking that you have all the answers and that you are the only person of authority when it comes to this truth. And then you start building a community of people that support this because they know that you're speaking the truth. But then you start looking at them like they're beneath you, like they're peasants. And that's a big problem with a lot of these types of people. Now, I'm not going to, this series, by the way, is on Hulu. It's called called The Devil You Know. Definitely check it out. But I'm going to skip over to a couple of things here. Now, I want you to listen to how she followed this preacher. Check this out. This is going to make a lot of sense because this is where she got a lot of information too. Now, I want you to listen to this, man. I'm going to bring it back here and let's start it out.
Liberty University.
So she went to Liberty University. Okay.
Had gone from a school that started with 21 people in a classroom to 15 years later already having 2,500 students. They came from all 50 states, came from over 100 countries around the world, all gathered in one place, all with a singular goal in mind: to go change the world for Christ. It was an exciting, exciting time. At that particular time, Jerry Falwell, who started the school, was on the air. He was the leader of the moral majority. Every Sunday morning, you flipped on the TV, you saw the Old Time Gospel Hour, Jerry Falwell.
And whatever you need to be set free from today, God can do it. Our country's in trouble. Big time.
Now, what you're going to notice is that Jerry Falwell was talking about this in the late 80s into the early 90s. There was a lot of preachers talking about how the Illuminati, how the brotherhoods, the Masonic brotherhoods are trying to take over. And you know what's crazy? Is a lot of these pastors like this, man, a lot of them were connected to this. And it's just crazy how they have these people that are controlled opposition, and controlled opposition people is a propaganda psyop tactic that has been going on for a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean, we're talking centuries. All right. Who's the one? Machiavelli. Okay. Machiavelli was great at teaching this. Machiavelli was great at manipulation. Machiavelli was great at understanding the power of controlled opposition and just how to divide and conquer, like many other people throughout the ages have done. But listen to this gospel hour. It's called Old Time Gospel Hour. And this was in 1993.
Trouble. From the highest level, we've gone bananas. Any church that's doing God's work God's way will be in constant trouble. Satan is alive and well.
He was a firebrand preacher, though. I mean, he had strong political convictions, and he was not shy about sharing them.
The White House is a zoo. And the courts. Yesterday, the Massachusetts court ruled that 2 lesbians can adopt a child. Now, you got to be a gross idiot. I don't know where you went to law school, Your Honor. That little child is doomed simply because of your ruling.
That passion for Jesus, I think, was a seed that was planted in her young.
And by the way, after this episode, the next episode that I'm going to publish tomorrow is called The Prince of the Power of the Air. That's another episode that I did with Brother Aqua Rai, and really one that you want to download and save and listen to over and over again. That's a very powerful episode that we did together, where we really dig deep into this gradual progression on how Satan has been he's been the Prince of the Power of the Air for a long, long time in present day. And just like this preacher was talking about with women being passed to basically adopt children as well as men. This is all a gradual process. See, what we're seeing right now in the year 2022 going into 23, we're seeing a heavy influence of Satanism. We're seeing a heavy influence of do what thou wilt culture. And there was people talking about this because this has been a gradual step-by-step process, as it has been for centuries.
Years, but it was watered while she was at Liberty under Jerry Falwell. Because of the television ministry that was global at the time, the broadcasting at Liberty was so unique. And we had the opportunity, while we're still in school, to be part of some operations that were being broadcast around the world.
It is my sincere prayer that this video, which you are now watching, will be a great blessing to you, because we have received literally hundreds of letters through the years from people like you whose lives have been totally changed as a result of watching messages like these.
Oh, good evening. I pray tonight God will just flood your soul with blessings from above.
At this moment in time, this was a special place where you felt like you could take over the world and do it in a way where you're showing love and showing what Christianity is all about. When Sherry arrived on campus at Liberty, she came in with this big blonde hair, the 80s blonde hair, and she had this big sunny disposition. She stood up immediately and said, "Hey, I want to be news director." Just like that. I mean, the first person to really kind of speak up, while we're all still trying to figure out how do you run a radio station or a student TV station. She knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted to use her voice And she wanted to take her voice and be able to change the world and let them see Jesus first. Obviously, she took in a direction that most evangelicals would not have fallen.
And that's usually what a lot of people do. They start off in some type of congregation or church or some type of group, whatever it may be. There were certain people that they were following first until they broke off. I can say that fortunately for me, I've never been part of any group. I've kind of always just done this by myself, not necessarily by myself, but like I never followed the major organization. I could have been part of gangs. I could have been part of organizations, but I never did. What I did was build with certain friends. And when I was doing my hip hop thing and doing my research with certain friends, I gained this knowledge. I gained this awareness, but it didn't come from one particular place. It came from a multitude of experiences that I grew into that finally formed this platform. And this platform was always meant to be, even if it wasn't going to be called Network of Awareness, it was going to exist only because when I was told that I was going to be a messenger, that was going to happen because the Most High said it was going to happen. And I'm so grateful that I finally answered the call, and it's not over. Like I always say, this is just the beginning. But now let's continue, and we're going to move a little bit further. Welcome to and it's going to play a commercial real quick, so I'm going to let that commercial play out. I'm going to mute it just so we don't have to listen. Because, with Hulu, I'm telling you people, there's always some type of, gay agenda or some type of an agenda that they always want to show you commercials of. So let this play out, and then we're gonna move on to the next segment of the Devil You Know docuseries. And yeah, these commercials last for a while. It's like a minute and a half, and it's only because I don't want to pay for the commercial free one because I think it's like paying an extra $4 so you don't have commercials. Ridiculous, in my opinion. But if you want to call me cheap, then call me cheap. I'm gonna pay. I think I got it for, actually though, I got the deal, thanks to my friend, I got the deal to get this for like $199 for the whole year, which is good. So I was like, I'm going to take that deal. The $199, can't beat that. So I decided to take that instead. But what we're going to continue on to is you're going to see how there's this one interview with a man that followed Sherry Shriner, and he says some really good things about her, but he was very accurate on, what she wound up doing to him just because he asked questions. And this happens in a lot of organizations, and these people with this grandiose personalities, they wind up becoming like this. You start questioning them, and this is the thing with narcissists, is a lot of narcissists don't like to be questioned, to be honest with you. They really don't. Not at all. Now, we're going to hear about this argon. I want you to hear about this argon she was selling because apparently she made a shitload of money off this stuff. And this is another thing that they do. And it's okay because that's what a lot of podcasters do. You want to, people go in there to market themselves and market their brand and their products. I'm eventually going to come out with my t-shirts. And if there's somebody that I can put on to affiliate or whatever, I'm going to do that as well. You know what I mean? It just comes with the territory.
Well, the real ones are out doing.
When I knew Sherry, politics was her driving force. Now, she had a Christian component to that, but it was clear what she wanted. She had strong convictions. She wanted to be a voice that would change the world on a news network like CNN.
Stand by. Ready, 3, take 3, Mike Hewitt. Ready, camera 3, 1 center up.
Good evening, I'm David Walker.
And I'm Lois Hart. Now here's...
And that very well could have been true, but Sherry Shriner was smart enough to know that joining these types of commercial networks wasn't going to get her anywhere because she wasn't willing to play the game. But let's hear what she has to say.
Country girl goes to the city, fails, goes back home.
So, this guy, Tony Russo, who they focus on a lot, he's a journalist. He tries to simplify everything. And, he tries to paint Sherry as this person that couldn't make it in the commercial world. So went back home, had a couple of kids and decided to do this. And it's just not that simple. I'm pretty sure that the type of influence that just like she had on these people, she could have had on any major network. But when you go on these major networks, you just got to spew a bunch of the bullshit that they tell you to say. Now, who wants to do that? That wants to have an authentic voice speaking truth. The truth has no place in commercial media. That's why they're always giving you a long legacy of lies. Now, they're going to start talking about this conspiracy theory thing, so I want you to hear about it because this is where it gets interesting as well. And I'm going to let this rock out for a little bit, okay? Now, like I said, you can watch this on Hulu. It's called The Devil You Know. It's from Vice, okay? So check it out when you get a chance, but I'm going to play this clip real quick.
College, and by getting a straight job and things like this. And it just wasn't meant to be.
That's what the Lord had me do, was pull away from the world, give up everything that I wanted from the world and start seeking the things of his kingdom in heaven. And I learned that I'm here for him in these last days.
And that's a fact. That's what a lot of us are doing. I know I'm doing that. I got rid of a lot of things, man. It's one of the reasons I stopped selling insurance, because I wanted to stop serving the world and being so worldly and start being more spiritual and being more connected to the Most High so that I can get my salvation. I started going on a quest of salvation instead of going on a quest for retirement or some other type of ludicrous idea that the world tries to make you believe in.
My name is MJ Benias. I'm a journalist who covers cults, conspiracy theories, and fringe subcultures. As someone who covers cults, you eventually stumble upon Sherry Shriner. It's almost like falling down the rabbit hole. At the time, mid-'80s, early 90s, you would have had already a landscape of rampant conspiratorial beliefs.
Roswell, the location of what some believe is one of the most significant UFO sightings ever made.
On my Area 51 line, you're on the air. Hello.
What we're thinking of as aliens are, they're extra-dimensional beings.
Kind of a reptoid race.
If you remember that was from the Art Bell show, and I found it interesting that was on September 11th of 1997 when that guy came on. He was like, he was all scared and stuff, and I remember that being played a lot. A lot of people are still sharing that on social media, believe it or not, like it's brand new, but that was in 1997 on September 11th. These types of shows, sometimes, there's people that come on and they just tell you the truth. And this truth about who's really in control, these interdimensional beings, also known as the Fallen, they've been around for a long time, people. And that's just a fact. There's nothing conspiratorial about the information. It's just the truth. What's conspiratorial is the people that are conspiring, which are not even actual human beings. And that's the thing that a lot of people, for some reason, can't wrap their head around. Because most people in today's society, around the world, they're the type of people that have to see to believe. But when they actually do get to see it and believe it, it's going to be too late.
And they're not really friendly to us. That's what I want to say to the viewers is, like, if you've got the remnants of your religion, call them out. This is the time for it.
And they would have explained to her, the reason why CNN didn't hire you is because you're not one of them.
And that's just a fact. It's not so much that she's not one of them. It's that she don't want to be one of them. And it's the same thing. Like if I would have joined the music industry, I wouldn't want to sell my soul. I wouldn't want to have to sacrifice my mother or my brother or my sister or my child just to get myself in a certain status. But there's people that are willing to do that. And the people that are not are always not going to look as successful as the one that does. And that's okay, because the people that do have all that success, most of the time they wind up selling their souls to gain it. And it ain't worth it, people, because at the end of the day, we're just here for an experience. This is not our home. This is not our place of stay. It's already been proven that the spirit is energy and energy never dies. So it's important that we serve righteousness opposed to serving ourselves through wickedness.
It's the only way you get your own show, and to be an anchor on a CNN is to play ball. And you guys know what play ball means. They're doing the satanic rituals. They're making their satanic masters happy. And that's what they do, folks. That's the only way they get those jobs. You play ball.
She's realized that the world is cutthroat. CNN didn't want her, and maybe there's something wrong with CNN. Maybe there's something wrong with the media.
And you see, they bring people like this on the show, and I know why they do it, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, dude, there's a lot of shit wrong with CNN. It's like, CNN has been already exposed on so many levels, especially when it came to the crisis actors that was on CNN. I mean, shit, that was a shit show and a half. That's why we can't look to these commercial networks as the word of authority. But at the same time, we got to be careful when we're following online platforms that are independent, because you might bump into somebody like a Sherry Shriner and come on to that information, which is great. But there's a fine line that you have to draw as a listener listener and have your own freaking mind instead of just hanging on to every word that one person says. And I've seen it, man. I've seen it. It's disgusting, but it goes on so much out here in the world, especially throughout here in the United States. Because in my opinion, I think when it comes to people being gullible and dumbed down, I think the United States is ranked number one for that.
As you get older and you start to learn more about the war around us and why there is such a war. Because they want to stop you, they want to beat you down, they want to keep you and prevent you from accomplishing whatever it is, that calling that's on your life. And
those are all facts, by the way, what she just said, all facts, because we all have great purpose in this time that we have here. And the dark forces, the dark principalities, these principalities are working extra hard to make sure that you don't fulfill your purpose. And for everybody that's listening, we all have great purpose. There's people that are listening to the show that may not know what that purpose is yet, but I pray and hope that you do find it. I hope that you get the strength and you build up the strength within yourself through the grace of the Most High, because the Most High is looking out for you. You just have to realize it and be one with it and follow through with it and break through to the fear and doubt barriers that these dark principalities place in front of you all the freaking time. And it happens to all of us. It continues to happen to me, and I always have to battle through. But when I battle through the grace of the Most High, it always winds up being the good thing, the right choice to do, because doing the right thing is the right thing to do, because you have to make a choice. It's either you're going to be good or you're going to be evil. There's no in between, people. There's no in between.
All the attacks you've ever suffered and will continue to is because they're in prevention mode. They want to stop you from doing anything.
And so she's stewing there up in Ohio. She had 4 kids and she wanted to make a living. What can I do from home? What are my options? And she hit upon this blogging thing. And this was right when blogging was super hot. And that was kind of how she started to gin up her following.
Coming up next, live with Sherry Shriner.
Welcome. I'm Sherry Shriner. It's Friday night. You're live with me tonight. Thanks for spending your night with me. What I wanted to talk about tonight is, well, everybody knows Sherry and aliens. That's my calling. The aliens aren't coming. They're already here.
I think it's not unreasonable to say that she was looking around for how can she make some money online. You know, this is where everybody is. More ears, more dollars, more attention.
My people are the smartest on the planet. Can't hold a candle to the people who listen to my show. Their level of intelligence is so far high and above anybody else's. You know, I talk to people every day and I hear the same things. Someone's complaining their family's not listening to them. They're the black sheep.
Hello, caller, you're on the air.
I don't know. How do you get people to open their eyes, Sherry? When I say anything to them, they think I'm crazy too, so.
People do think you're nuts, but just keep talking, keep planting seeds, and let the Lord handle it.
My husband turned off the computer because he thinks I'm crazy over all this. They seriously said that they will put me in for therapy or something, talking about all this. And when they come to get them, I'll say, I told you so.
All right, well, thanks for calling in.
The truth is a lonely place. It alienates you from the rest of society. It can be a very lonely place.
Now, like I said, the lady spoke a lot of truth, but what winds up happening is the humility factor, being humbled, and not, you know, what winds up happening, and it's very unfortunate, that many of these people with these types of platforms, they start thinking that they are God. They start thinking that they're the Most High. And you got to be careful with some of these grandiose narcissists that start talking in third person. A lot of people that talk in third person, you'll see in the music industry or entertainment industry. They're always talking in third person, and it's because the ego is set in, and they're serving the master, which is Satan. And a lot of times, even these people in the truth, sometimes they can get overtaken by Satan through the vanity. And I've seen it happen many times. And that's where you got to be careful, because Satan is always looking for your weak spots. And a lot of times, these people with these platforms, vanity is their weak spot. But let's listen to this one man who's going to break down, you know, some of the science that he got from Sherry Shriner, some of the information and how he took it. He's also going to talk about the falling out. And this is what a lot of them do, what he's going to talk about.
Market. Can an interview take two? Blow your mind. Maybe market.
And there goes the commercials again. So we got to let the commercial play out. But in the meantime, so like I was mentioning before, is that we have to be careful when we're giving out information, when we're building a platform. It can even be an entrepreneurial business. It's like you got to be careful with vanity. You got to be careful with the ego, because the ego has a very, very unique way where Satan really can trick you through your ego, because you start feeling yourself to a level that is unhealthy. And what it starts to do is that people that do love and trust in what you say, and they believe in you, they admire you, they want to support what you're doing, you start acting in a way where you think that nothing that you do is wrong and that you can't be questioned. And it winds up turning into a shit show, and you wind up losing a lot of the people that supported you at one time. And then you're stuck with the dummies. And that's what happens with a lot of these people that have these platforms. They're stuck with the blind, dumbed down followers that don't research shit and just, they follow blindly. And that's a lot of times, those are the ones they like because they don't question them. And they can pretty much bullshit them with anything. They can call them names, they can call them stupid or whatever, and they'll still follow them because they're so fearful of these people, because they're looking at them and they're looking at them like they're higher than them, and they're putting them on a pedestal. And it's freaking disgusting, people. Let's continue.
Now, when you start to question things, your religious leaders will make you feel like you're being unloyal to God. That just lies, they'll tell you. And you feel afraid to question anything because you'll go to hell. That's how they control you. Fear, intimidation. You believe what we tell you. Don't question things outside.
And see, the thing, you hear how she's talking, right? And she's on point. But the problem is, she, just like many of these people, just like same thing with Mr. Cortez, he became like the men that he despised in the camps. She became like a lot of the pastors that she was following from the churches. They wind up becoming the very things that they don't like because they're not checking themselves, and they don't have no checks and balances in their life. And they can't be told shit because everything that comes out their mouth is right, because they've gotten so filled up with so much admiration from other people that they start thinking that they're the best thing since sliced bread.
What we tell you. And if we don't have an answer, then it didn't exist. That's how they keep you dumbed down.
Do not disturb.
That's great.
I'm Shane Petman, and I would consider myself a Renaissance man. The things that I study are things that are typically taboo, things where you talk about it and instantly people sort of lose their marbles. Like, what? What are you, some sort of a tinfoil hat conspiracy whack job or something? Most people just spend hours every night watching television or drinking beer or doing whatever it is they do. My escape was to study, to grow my mind, to get lost in the information. And so I started studying about a lot of different conspiracy things.
And I want to interject because that's something else that I want to disagree with what he's saying. You don't want to get lost in the information. That's the last thing you want to do, because that's exactly what can happen to you when you start going down the rabbit hole. You can get very much lost and get very much depressed and not even have the will to live sometimes, because you're like, who wants to live in this fucked up world? But there's something called long suffering that the scriptures talks about. And when you get that understanding, you understand that this is something that is just an experience, and it's only meant to strengthen you, and you're meant to fight against it. And it means that you're going to be unpopular, just like the Messiah wasn't. That the Messiah was popular, but then he was unpopular for what he was, teaching, and people hated him. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, too, what I was going to say is you want to get found in the information. You want to get found in the truth, and you want to find your way to salvation. You want to find the Most High in the information. Let's continue.
Cryptozoology, aliens, demons, fallen angels. I've always craved all that information, but with the advent of the internet, it opened everything up for people to be able to research as much as they wanted. People are going through things, but they feel like they can't talk about it. Like demons, as an example. They're plastered across all the television and the movies, but you're not allowed to ask these questions to your pastor. Why is that? Why are you so scared to talk about it? People are starving and they're hungry for this information. So
And that's because many of the pastors are bought and paid for. That's why many of your pastors told you to take the vaccine, and they're still telling people to take the vaccine. And unfortunately, a lot of these people that listen in these congregations have already passed away and are very sick and are all fucked up in many different ways because they listened to their pastor. And that's what's happening to a lot of these people. And the scriptures talks about how they were going to be men and women leading people astray, men and women claiming to be the Messiah, men and women claiming to have the word of the Most High like nobody else does, that they only have it. These false prophets.
Approximately, I would say 2008 or 2009, I probably heard some of the first things I heard of Sherry's work. I had some friends who were really close with Sherry, and they're like, hey, you should come in this group and hang out, and you can maybe learn some stuff. And so I said, sure, why not? I think one of the first things that I came across probably had to do with reptilians. That's one of those things where people are like, oh, reptilians, come on, buddy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sherry Schreiner, and I just wanted to make this video on soul scalping. They shove this serpent down your throat, and it wraps around your spinal cord, and Lucifer can embody that serpent and then overtake the person.
A normal human could go through a process to be inhabited by one of these things. They remember everything that happened in your life. They're able to carry on as you, but they're now in the driver's seat.
There's this kind. Miley. No, she was replaced, folks. She was replaced.
They look like people, but they can transform into a reptilian form.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I really do believe that these reptilians are, it's either fallen angels or
and I'm going to tell you something from my own personal experience. I've met some of these types of reptilian fallen angel types of beings, these demonic beings where they shapeshift and their eyes shift and they're just weird. I've been in certain situations, oh man, that I could tell stories for days. Now, I'm not going to tell these stories on this particular broadcast, but they do exist, people. And I give all praises to the Most High that a lot of times when some of these beings try to subdue me, and I'm talking about like an actual real life, real time, this ain't no dream stuff. This is like, I'm wide awake. These are actual experiences. I didn't fall victim to their deceit. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, even though they're wicked and stuff and they're powerful in the malevolent with the malevolent force, with that dark force, the only way they can really trick you or manipulate you is if you allow them to. You have to let them in. You have to welcome them to some degree. They just can't take over. The host has to be open. You have to be accommodating to these beings. And when you're not, and you stand true to the convictions that you have within the Most High, oh, they hate it, but they can't do nothing about it because the Most High is all powerful and the Most High has the final say. And that's just a fact. And when you really start to understand scriptures, you understand that Satan is operating off of desperation because he knows that his time is almost up, because he's already lost. Spiritually, he's already lost. And in my opinion, I believe he lost when he decided to stray away from the Most High. And some people believe that that's not true, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, there is this demonic being. There is demonic forces that have been working since before we even came. Before we even inhabited this realm, so to speak.
A bloodline of Lucifer himself. Christians lose their mind when you talk about it. And then you start looking into ancient civilizations and archaeology, and there's these reptilian creatures that are carved in all these petroglyphs in all these separate societies all around the world. Like, why would they take the time to carve in these crazy ornate petroglyphs if there's nothing to it? There's too many unanswered questions to be like, I don't know. I've had family members that have just blocked me, all of a sudden gone, never talked to me again because of the information that I researched.
I hear it all the time from people. My wife thinks I'm crazy. My husband thinks I'm crazy. My kids.
And that's the type of stuff that does happen, people. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family because a lot of times these people want to just be stuck in the matrix. I could tell you that there's a lot of family that I don't talk to just because of what happened in 2020 with this whole nonsense with the pandemic and then the other things that led to the battle between Democrats and Republicans and you name it, all the division, you know, there's a line that gets drawn. And I'm just seeking the Most High. I'm not playing around. Like I'm trying to maintain a certain level of vibration and frequency within this truth, opposed to being a worldly person. And unfortunately, a lot of times your family and some of your friends, they want to just be worldly. And you have to make a decision. Do you want to accommodate them or do you want to get closer to the Most High?
Kids think I'm crazy. And folks, we just really don't even have that much time left that you have to deal with people that don't want to listen. Just hang in there.
One of the things that I saw from the beginning was that this is a really easy story to tell in like a big way. Reptiles and aliens and crazy people. And I wanted to stay away from that temptation because...
And you see how he said it, it's like, he said he wanted to stay away from it, but he really didn't. He just approached it in a different way, but still came with that mindset. And it's good that they put him on here. I think they gave him too much airtime, in my opinion, but I understand why. Now listen to what he's going to say here.
The story's got to be more about what draws people. Why are people drawn to this? So Blog Talk Radio was where she said the stuff, but she would put the shows on YouTube.
This is the malfunction of the clones.
Now, listen to this, but also remember that this is when YouTube was first starting out. And when YouTube was first starting out, they wasn't censoring a lot of this type of talk. Now, forget it, man. You already know what happened with me, what still happens to me. I mean, this episode is going to be put on my YouTube page, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets flagged for some type of bullshit. Because YouTube, I'm telling you people, YouTube is on some real wicked shit these days. And the only people that are really going to thrive on YouTube are not just the people like the Paul brothers or whatever's the Logan brothers, you know, because they bought and paid for it through YouTube, but also the people that just do dumb shit. Anything that's going to devolve you as a human being that is put on YouTube is going to blow up. And for the exception of a few people that have traditional things that they can teach you that are fundamental, if those people blow up, that's a good thing because they're doing something honest. But they even have a ceiling that they can't pass unless they sell their souls.
Celebrities have been replaced. News reporters have been replaced. Our government leaders, every single person on TV now with their own show, whether it's your own show or you're an actor or an actress, you have to sign the dotted line. You have to sell your soul to Satan to get on TV.
Sherry said the aliens were something like 90% of people you see on TV.
And you know what? She's right. She's right. Even the people that don't technically sell their souls and are directly connected to the whole satanic culture, they know everything about it and they keep their freaking mouths shut. I've seen it personally. And those people are just as culpable and comparable and just as responsible for what Satan is trying to do to destroy the world because they know and they're just keeping their mouths shut so they can get their paychecks. Let's continue.
Really, anybody you don't know in person could be an alien. And it's interesting because that sort of feeds into more mainstream conspiratorial beliefs that don't say that people on TV are aliens, but it does say that they're evil conspiring elites or they're out of touch. They have nothing in common with you.
The problem with conspiracy theories isn't that they're wrong. The problem is that these people know that's something.
And see, that's one of the biggest problems that there is that we're still referring to the truth of what's actually what we're experiencing and what we're seeing and what is registering, what makes sense as we're identifying it as conspiracy theory when it has nothing to fucking do with conspiracy theory. Because there's no such thing as conspiracy theory. That's just something the CIA created, right? For that mental psychological manipulation. It's basically to discredit the truth so that when somebody is actually saying that this is happening and it's like, oh, that's conspiracy theory. They have to give it a name and that winds up building an actual vibration that people gravitate to in an energy and it evolves into what we consider reality because everything is based on perception. So when somebody winds up telling some off-the-wall story that actually is true, it's not off the wall, but we perceive it as off the wall because why? Because it has to be a conspiracy theory. It's a theory. But yet, people want to gravitate that there's such thing as a white person and a black person and a brown person and a yellow person. And that shit was based on some fucked up theories. but we make it real through our perceptions. And one of the biggest things that we've made real to our perceptions is fucking money. We made a piece of paper with a number on it real through our perceptions. So I'm going to skip this and I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to let you listen to a little bit more of Sherry and this guy, Tony Russo.
You're not alone. You have the rest of the Lord's warriors scattered around the world, all feeling the same way you do.
People who have had really, really, really shitty lives can't explain it. But then if you say, well, the devil...
Now listen to how he's going to try to make sense of this. And I'm going to nip this shit in the bud so fucking quick, but let's hear what he has to say. This is Tony Russo again.
The devil is making it his full-time job to make your life garbage. Your life is awful because you're so important. It's easier to get up in the morning. I think that Sherry's particular genius was she...
Now, you see how he tried to downplay people having purpose in life? It's like all these people that have a shitty life, this gives them a reason to be hopeful and everything. And the reality is that it's not just people that have shitty lives. There's plenty of people that have had great lives, okay, and wound up giving it all up to not be in the world and to be in the truth. So that, what he's saying is so dumb. And I can tell you even from my own personal experiences, yeah, I've had some challenges, but my life has been really blessed, bro and sis. Like, my life has really been blessed. Even as a child, even though I went through some major emotional struggles, I still had a blessed life, even till present day. So I didn't have this shitty life where it's like I'm listening to truth like it's the only hope for me. No, I've had a blessed life. And even if I had a shitty life, and when I've had shitty times and some experiences that I wish never happened to me, I'm still grateful for it because I know that I'm with the Most High. And I understand what the Most High has been doing throughout my life. And I understand long suffering. And I understand why the long suffering does exist, especially in a world like this.
He was able to take all of these different beliefs, all of the conspiracy theories, and tie them together under one umbrella and solve everyone's problems with orgone. So whatever ailment you think you have, orgone is the cure, and Sherry's got a little bit of enough for you to be excited about.
My job here on Earth is to lead the people back to Him, and also leading an orgone war and a resistance war against Satan and his generals. And people buy orgone from other people that claim they...
And you see, and this is where she fucked up because, listen, I know people that burn sage. I've done it back in the past. I don't do that shit no more. You know why? Because it's not necessary. Okay? Now, if you're somebody who wants to believe in that, like I said, the power of perception. But you just need a relationship and a life where you walk the walk from the talk that you talk, and praying and doing other things and following the laws and the statutes and the commandments and living a life of charity and being one with the word of the Most High, living in a Christ-like, Messiah manner. Like you want to, Sherry's trying to call him Yahashua or Yahshua, whatever you want to call it, Yahshua, Yahweh, whatever it is. Live off of those principles. And that's how you stay protected, That's how you stay protected. But the attacks are still going to come, but you still will be protected. This whole thing with Oregon, that was just a way to make money. And that's another thing with a lot of these people that are in the truth community. They always want to bump something off that a lot of people don't freaking need. But they'll make you think that you need it. And the power of perception is so real that people will believe that it actually works.
They make my orgone. Don't buy it from somebody else selling it on their website saying, this is Sherry Schreiner's orgone. Buy it from me direct.
Now, you heard what she said, buy it from me direct. Boy, I heard that a lot of times from other people too. And this is the part, man, where it's like this is where it gets a little finicky. You know what I mean? And I use that word very strongly, finicky, because you gotta be careful, man. It's something that I'm very cognizant of. I don't want to get lost in my platform to where I start thinking that I'm the only source of information because it's so untrue. But it can happen to any of us. That's why we have to be humbled. We have to be charitable with this knowledge. We can't covet the knowledge and start thinking that we're the only people with this, and it's important to respect other people's insight, opinions, and thoughts. A lot of times people with these types of platforms, they don't want to deal with people even asking questions if the questions are going to put them in a position that they can't even answer the question and they don't want to admit to that, or they just don't agree with what you're saying. So automatically you just become their enemy. And that to me is a person that is full of shit. And that happens a lot with these types of people, unfortunately. So let's hear what Sherry's going to say now.
The New World Order hates the orgone that keeps demons out of your house, that repels evil. That's what they're after. They're after our recipe of orgone making. That's what they want to stop.
Sherry Shriner offers a very simple solution to a very complex world. As a journalist who started researching Sherry, the first rule is you can never trust the person you're writing a story about to tell their own story. So I began reaching out to some of the individuals who were part of her movement. A lot of them wouldn't speak to me. They knew I was a journalist. They wanted nothing to do with me. I contacted an orgone seller who was friends with Sherry. They worked together producing orgone, and they sold it as part of their mission. I posed as a buyer. I explained that my family was being harassed by some sort of force, and my wife and my daughter were scared. And they explained to me that this would definitely keep my family safe from reptile aliens, from demonic forces, from the devil himself. This person was trying to sell a product. That's what's offered in these cults. It's not trying to really fix the problem. It's trying to oversimplify the problem into one idea that's easy to swallow and digest and go to war with. But they're being manipulative, and they're obviously they're playing a dangerous game.
Until then,
I already figured out what I'm going to call this series. This is the Quest for Salvation series that this episode is going to be on. Because, brothers and sisters, we're all seeking salvation. We just have to be careful on how we go about that. Because even people with a lot of knowledge, we cannot always just believe people. We have to do our own research. We have to question everything and believe in nothing. I did that episode with the brother Kyle Phillips and Thomas, because it's so true. You got to question everything. I always tell people, question what I'm saying to you. Do your own research. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the answer to everything, but we can congregate here. We can build a community of truth here. I'm always, and if you listen to my 4 past seasons, I'm the type of person that I'm not going to just always interview people that are, up there in status or in a certain field of industry and are always the experts. I interview everyday people that are going through struggles and are still trying to figure things out, but they're on their quest for salvation. They have a love for the Messiah. They have a love for the Most High. They want to seek truth. They want to become better. And we have to stick together and help each other to become better. Because if you're not charitable people, then you're just lost in the sauce.
Folks still need your donations to keep this show going, keep this fight going, our resistance against the works of darkness and Satan and his forces.
And yes, it does, we do, a lot of these people with these platforms, we want to be compensated. And there's ways to go about that. And then there's ways to not. And at the end of the day, we have to be held accountable for what we're doing. And like somebody like a Sherry Shriner, she's got bills to pay, then she should have found other ways than just selling Oregon, And I think a lot of times what happens is these people build up a great following and they want to try to milk the cow any which way possible. And sometimes they even steal certain ideas from some of their listeners. I've seen that happen with this man's platform. There was a sister putting out certain body products, and next thing you know, he's putting out body products. So just got to be careful. You got to be careful with how you follow people too and what you share with them, because a lot of people like to steal shit and try to make it their own or capitalize off your ideas and then wind up trying to educate you on not to doing that, but then they're doing it to you. It's insanity, people. That's why we got to use a lot of freaking discernment these days.
Forces on it. I need supplies, materials. I need constant financial help, folks. My diehard warriors, they're the ones I can count on.
The Orgone warrior aspect of Sherry Shriner's ministry can't be overstated. These are people who feel like they have a mission. These are people who are in an army. It's research during the day and then fighting it at night. It's an empowerment that these people would not otherwise have.
In Sherry's group, there was a variety of people from across the world, to be honest with you. Single moms, dads, seniors, young people you would never guess, right? I guess the key thing that united all of them is that they were willing to just search out some of this deeper information.
And some of them do, but most of them don't. That's the sad part, is that they just go by what she says or goes by what he says or they say, and they're not doing the research. And that's when it becomes a cult, because they start to hang on every single word and they start telling you something, and it's like, get the fuck out of here. You know, I remember when this man was talking about that blessings only come from Satan and that you shouldn't even say blessings. And I talked about this where people weren't even sneezing or saying God bless you or bless you when you were sneeze, because they felt like they were saying that Satan is blessing you. It's insanity, but it's real. It is real. Let's continue.
See, truth only sounds crazy to people who don't want to hear it. You get so comfy in your false doctrines that you don't want to hear that your beliefs are wrong. Most people will do anything to protect their illusions. And what's the Father say? He says their illusions aren't going to protect them any longer.
And see, that's the problem with people like Sherry. What she used to do is you have to respect people's beliefs. That's what's called humility. You have to, even if you are in disagreement, you have to agree to disagree. But with a narcissist, especially a grandiose narcissist, it's hard for them to do that because they want you to see things their way.
People are curious. And I think the chat room was where you just you sort of sat at Sherry's feet. Absolutely nothing is off limits. And I
pay close attention to what he's saying, because there's a lot of people with platforms like this. I came from one like this where I was in a chat room, and it's a lot of times I feel like I should have never gotten it because I used to watch it all the time and not engage with it. But it is what it is. But like he said, they were all at Sherry's feet. He's breaking down some serious ass knowledge right now.
I think that Sherry put her life at stake to get this information out there. She was tortured on the sly with electronic harassment and a lot of other really radical stuff, because Sherry had some really deep, nasty information that they didn't want getting out there.
These celebrities and politicians and blue blood families have been worshiping the devil all these years, doing all these blood sacrifices, all these child pornography rings, pedophilia rings. They believe that they get longevity and energy by raping babies. And the more evil they are, the higher they climb. So their status in their world becomes higher.
And that's all true, people. And we're seeing a lot of this unfold right before our eyes in plain sight. They're not hiding it no more. You know, at the times when Sherry was talking about it, they were just beginning to do this stuff, or they were doing it, you know, because she's been around for a while. And a lot of this stuff is irrefutable. I mean, literally irrefutable. But she's not the only one, people. She's not the only one. The reason why I'm focusing on Sherry today is because I want you to understand how people can get corrupted within the truth when they start thinking that they are the truth. That's the problem.
Sherry was right on with the New World Order. They're doing gigantic worldwide satanic rituals right now on purpose to usher in the New World Order.
Do you get what the New World Order is, folks? It's aliens dominating and controlling the earth and putting humans into complete and total subject slavery and ownership to them. So you have to decide what's worth living for and what's worth fighting for. Better to die than to live for Satan.
I learned a lot from Sherry, seriously. And if you're searching for the truth, she had a lot of keys. And I don't think those are going to go away until they shut down the internet, shut down social media, and take that away. There is a time coming in society very soon where those people asking those critical questions, they got to go. Because I've seen too much and I know too much, but I just want to be honest. There's going to be a massive roundup of people like myself and other people who are asking critical questions. They will come to collect me and put me in a van, and that'll be it. I'll be gone.
Dating as a Christian can be really hard.
You know, it can be difficult to find.
There goes those commercials again. And you know, what he's saying could be very well true, or it can be a lot of paranoia. Who knows? Because guess what? There's been a lot of people that, you know, FBI and CIA have snatched up and nobody's ever heard of again. There's been a lot of people who found cures to certain diseases like HIV and all these other man-made diseases, and they wind up disappearing. So it's very true. And this is why it's so important to humble yourself and respect people's beliefs. Because whether this guy is speaking speaking the truth or not. For me, I don't even care. But if he was to tell me that personally, I would trust in what he's saying, that he believes that. And I would take him seriously on that. And I think the problem is with a lot of people like Sherry that are like her, or she, she's passed away now, but people that are like her or were like, or like she was, it's a very negative thing. It's not a positive thing. And it winds up destroying a lot of people's lives that wind up worshiping these people. They wind up venerating these people. So let's hear what he's going to say about Sherry. We're going to be wrapping things up pretty soon. And like I said, this is just the first installment of a Quest for Salvation series, or the Quest for Salvation series.
Get the attraction to Sherry Shriner. What did she have to make otherwise nice and normal people embrace such hate, and embrace this world of madness and paranoia?
And it's not a world of madness and paranoia. The world is filled with madness. The problem is that when you start, this is where it becomes a cult, is that these people's perceptions, like a Sherry Shriner, start becoming your own. And that's where it gets really tricky, because you cannot allow somebody else's perceptions to become your own, because then you become just like that person. And that's where it can become a negative, self-destructive thing. And that's where you can limit you on how you operate in society. All right. I've seen it happen with me. I've seen it happen with brothers like Take One and other people. So it's very possible. Fortunately, we woke up out of our slumber in the way we was behaving, because we was being fed information that started to shift our perceptions. And that's where you have to be careful, because at the end of the day, the Most High is in control of everything. Even though Satan is controlling this realm, so to speak, the Most High has the final say. So you have to walk with that light in all the things that you do, and use a lot of discernment, and to basically operate in a way that is not so much self-destructive, but reconstructing and being rebuilt in a way to where you know how to operate, and you hold on to that truth, and you don't let that truth get compromised by other people's perceptions. You have to find the truth for yourself. You can follow the information, but you still got to find the truth for yourself. And you ain't going to do it by following other people.
Just so that they could be part of this woman's group.
They're like cockroaches. When the lights go off, the demons come in, and you don't see them and even know they're there. They've been trying to kill me for over a decade, and I'm still alive. Why? Because of the Father. Why do they want to kill me? Because they know I speak the truth. It scares the crap out of them, because they can't control me.
Like, there's this constant...
That might very well be true, but I truly believe that a lot of that is that grandiose narcissism, because I've heard this type of talk before. I've heard this man that I used to follow say that celebrities are not allowed to say his name because the Most High forbids them, and I used to just laugh. And this is where you got to be careful when you follow these types of people, because their grandiose personality comes out so thick that if you're not paying attention, you're actually going to believe when the grandiose narcissist starts spewing their nonsense. You're going to start believing in it.
They're coming to get us. They're coming to get us. They're coming to get us. And for me, I couldn't imagine anyone embracing that.
Sherry was fearless. She wasn't scared to call people out on awful, hideous things that are going on in this world.
He told me to lead his people back to him, and it's been an uphill.
By the way, this episode that she's talking on is from June 5th of 2017. It's called Haters Are Gonna Hate, and she got 2,535 views at that time. That's usually what I average on my listenership on a monthly basis. She was getting this per episode, but as time goes on, I know my numbers will grow. But this is the thing, people, is you gotta just be careful with these people that give you the truth, because when they start feeling themselves, that's when Satan creeps in, and that's when the lies start sounding like the truth.
Battle. It's tiring. It's mentally and physically exhausting. With the workload that I have, and I don't have producers, I don't have a staff. People send me emails all the time. I do answer. I'm just not going to get into a lengthy diatribe, that's for sure.
I was probably Facebook friends with Sherry for about 5 years, and I spent about a year in the chat rooms. And then one day I got a little sassy. I think I might have been having a bad day, to be honest with you. and decided to ask some really tough questions. It could have been over Paul. Sherry didn't really believe that Paul was legitimate. Basically, if you want to throw out the Apostle Paul, you're cutting 13 books out of the New Testament, and I just wasn't willing to go there. And I was just like, well, while we're at it, what about this question? And what about this? And I hammered it a bit. So one of Sherry's best friends told me that, this sort of behavior is unacceptable and you're going to have to leave. She's asked that you leave the group. Like, I can't believe this right now. This person was so cool in so many ways, and then pow.
People want you to handhold them. And I can't.
And you see, this is what the grandiose narcissist does. That's they discard you in a heartbeat. That's what they do. And that's exactly what happened to this man just because he was questioning things, And I've seen it happen over and over again on different platforms with different people. And it's sad. But it's a good thing for the person that it happens to because it wakes them up in a certain way. And they realize, okay, I can't be following everything this person says because they're not who I may think they are. And I remember that meeting a hip-hop artist by the name of Killer Priest that I was very disappointed when I met him. But when I was building it up in my mind, man, I thought it was going to be the best experience in my life. And it was a very educational experience, but it wasn't a good experience. It was actually very bad, because I was expecting it to be a whole different way. And I guess that's why you shouldn't set any expectations for anything. But I did, and I was very disappointed. And it's no different than this man that I used to follow his platform. This man used to do some underhanded shit. And it's crazy because what he would do, and he probably still does it to this day to get more listeners, because I'm pretty sure his platform has gotten smaller, just because a lot of people are starting to realize how full of shit he is. But some of the things he used to do is he used to pretend to be certain people in the chat room and start talking shit so that it can create some type of controversy so that he could be like, you see, I still got these brothers hating on me. I still got people trying to bring me down. They're probably agents trying to investigate me. He even tried to play that game with me and had a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon saying that I was some type of agent trying to bring him down when I was just a brother trying to bring him up and being very supportive, but that's where it gets tricky. That's where this cult-like mentality comes in. And it's just really bad because certain people that are within the cult, not even realizing that they're in a cult, can be excommunicated and really be shit on and slandered on and tribally gaslighted in a heartbeat.
I don't have time to handhold people. People just send you emails with a million questions, expect you to be their research teacher.
And that's the whole thing. They don't expect you to be their research teacher. These people believe in what you're telling them and they got questions. And if you don't want to answer them, you shouldn't have a fucking platform. That's just my opinion. It's like, listen, get somebody to answer them like Joe Rogan does. You know what I mean? It's like, but if you ain't doing shit and you don't got you got time to answer those emails, answer them. You know what I mean? One minute you saying you're answering emails, then the next minute you say you don't have to hold people's hands. It's like, come on, and there's a thin line, people. And this is the rhetoric that I've seen it happen over and over again. And this is a tactic of a grandiose narcissist, what she's doing right now, unfortunately. And I'm not trying to shit on this woman because she is passed away already, but we just got to call it for what it is. This show is for educational purpose, so people understand not getting caught up in these fucking cult-like communities that are supposedly communities of truth.
I don't have time for that. That's why I don't get nitpick fights about people who come on my list with their own ideas of theology. They may love the Lord, and that's fine. They'll learn the truth in heaven. So I spend all.
And you see that little sinister laugh she goes, and that's that shit. That's where it's like you feeling yourself a little too much there, honey, and it's sad that she didn't have somebody to tell her that, and she probably did, but they probably got banned from her platform too. You know what I'm saying? Just the way it is, people. You got to be very careful.
Less time fighting about it now and who's right and who's wrong and blah, 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 blah.
That shunning thing, brilliant move on her part. If you're committed to a cult, you're committed until you leave. That, of course, is why Sherry Shriner gets that cult tag.
And, that's one good thing he said is very true. You committed until you leave, but that shunning thing, I seen that a lot with the man's platform that I was on. Boy, was he shunning all the fucking time. It was like shunning was his second job. And it's no different than what she's doing. And that's what a lot of these people do on these different platforms. It's not just them two. I mean, there's plenty of people that do this shunning. It's the very shunning that she was talking about earlier with pastors and priests from these different congregations. It's what a lot of these brothers from these Israelite camps camps. They're always shunning. So these are things you have to be careful with.
Cause being in her good graces was the most important thing.
Bam. Being in their good graces is the most important thing. That's why they always like to keep the dick riders around. They always like to keep the ass kissers around. And those are usually the people that wind up staying in these platforms with these types of grandiose narcissists.
To any of her followers. This isn't just Sherry saying, I don't want to be your friend anymore. This is Sherry sending a message like she's a mob boss. I don't want to be your friend anymore, and this is what happens to people who displease me. We saw it with Stephen Mineo.
And we're going to talk about the whole Stephen Mineo story, on the next show of the A Quest for Salvation, because, when it comes to the truth getting corrupted, this dude, he hung on to Sherry Shriner for 14 years and thought he was part of this truth community family within Sherry Shriner's platform, only to find out that he was disposable. And when he got disposed of, he lost his shit. And we're going to talk about that, but not on this episode.
The mental torture she gives people. I had suicidal thoughts, and I want to prevent other people from getting into that crap.
We saw it with Richard Brown.
Guess what? I'm not a damn clone, and I ain't in hell. Do you see me choking like a reptilian?
See, these are people that questioned her or had some type of problem with her, and she wound up slandering them, having the whole entire community that follows her jump on the bandwagon. And then these people wind up, doing stupid shit, or like that man, he was just, clapping back saying, hey, you see me being a reptilian or whatever, because that's what they do. Once you're not in agreement, once you're not kissing their ass or following the program of the cult no more, then that's what they try to do to you, and they try to make you seem like you're crazy or you're an agent, or there's some type of agenda that you have. And it's all bullshit, people. And it's sad because a lot of people jump on that bandwagon of hate and they don't even realize. And a lot of times they don't want to jump off the bandwagon because they feel like if I wind up questioning like this person, I might be in their same shoes very soon. And the reality is that they will. And they don't want that happening to them. And to me, that's just weak. That, in my personal opinion, that's weak. But hey, it is what it is. It's going to continue to happen. It's not going to stop.
We saw it with Kelly Pengilly. Expelling people is what Sherry does. This is part of her ministry. This is part of her business plan.
I'm not your mother. I'm not your therapist. I am a prophet of the Most High. I speak for him. I'm here to wake up an army. And we're trying to protect our gates and prepare for the war that's coming against us.
Now, for those that have listened so far, do you hear how hypocritical she sounds? 1 minute she's saying, she's serving the Most High. She's not your mother. She's not this. And those are all true. But you have a responsibility to your platform. You trying to connect with these people. You want them to donate money, but yet you don't want to answer their questions. You don't want to get to know them, but you'll take their money. Come on, man. That to me is just despicable.
Cults 30 years ago were very different than they are now. What we're seeing now is these charismatic leaders use social media to promote themselves, promote their brand, promote the product that they're selling. And in exchange, you don't need to leave your family. You can sit in your basement or your living room and engage with the cult without the obvious signs that you're being removed. The problem with this is it's much more insidious.
And that is very true. It is much more insidious. And a lot of people have suffered the excommunication or disbandment of being on certain platforms. And sometimes mentally they're a little fragile. So sometimes they'll kill themselves. They'll do some crazy stuff. Like we're going to get into the next episode with this guy, Steve Mineo, and this other girl that actually wind up committing suicide, thinking that she was going to travel to an astral plane and come back. I mean, people are very influential, man. And it doesn't matter what age they are. That's one thing I've realized, in my 44 plus years is that people are influential. You think that a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old is influential, man. There's freaking 45, 60-year-olds that are still being influenced by people because people they have a yearning to find out what is real and what's not, because we live in a world that bombards you with a bunch of lies. So it's easy to want to be part of something. That's one of the reasons why most young people, men and young men and women, join gangs. They want to feel like they're part of something because the worldly world of things, it's constantly against them. It's like the world is always working against you. And the people that thrive in the worldly world of things are usually people that have some type of toxic approach or behavior and are willing to step on their mother's back to make that dollar. And those are the people that usually thrive more than others. It's just the reality of this world. And when you become a sympathetic, empathetic, loving type of spirit and person, you know, that's when you're going to get a lot of shit. And these platforms, you can't follow the people. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody should be following a Sherry Shriner. People should follow the information and then do their research and be studied and be approved, like the scripture says.
Anyone for free can start an Instagram page or a Facebook page or a Twitter.
And that's another thing. We should all be getting approval from the Most High, not from man or women.
Account. Anyone can start a YouTube channel and cost nothing.
It's really important to understand that when we are talking about people who are joining cults, there is this price, oftentimes a literal price of participation, so that you have to purchase goods or you have to pay to attain the next level of spiritual attainment. And in that dynamic, when you have the charismatic leader and you have followers who are really revering that person in a spiritual or almost godlike way, that really paves the way to pretty gross exploitation.
Bam. That dude, I forgot his name, but he broke it down perfectly. It really leads to exploitation, and the platform that I came from he's still exploiting people to this present day. And the same thing she was doing and many others. And that's one thing that I will not allow myself to do. I'm not going to be exploiting people just so I can make a buck because people are trusting in what I'm saying. I'm not going to do that. This is all about awareness, and we all need to be aware. And this is all about network. I'm all about network. I'm all about bringing people together. I don't want to be the head nigger in charge. I don't want to be the chief and everybody else be the Indians. I just want to be a messenger of truth so that we can gain awareness and build a network of that and collaborate together within this truth.
As you grow followers, that's when the money starts to come in, right? That's when you monetize your content. And all of a sudden, you're a full-fledged cult leader earning a profit from people who you've sort of slowly brought in.
Those people are often very vulnerable to being controlled and coerced. And so I think we see some of that evidence within the Sherry Shriner cult, that she's really manipulating her followers to buy her goods and to revere her as this exalted figure.
Yes, very true. Very well said. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people are vulnerable, and that's not something that can change. Only the person that is vulnerable can change and strengthen themselves through the Most High. But at the end of the day, I believe that as a messenger, we have a responsibility to deliver this message of truth and to deliver it with great charity and empathy. All right. That's just my opinion. You don't have to quote me on that, but that's just how I feel. That's what I think. And, I think that we shouldn't be exploiting anybody or trying to manipulate people. But what winds up happening to a lot of these people with these platforms is, like I always say, they start out humbled and then they wind up engaging and pretty much engulfed in vanity and start having people revere them and having that reverence go to their head.
I'm asking those who have never contributed to this ministry and should be to step up. I'm talking about being able to hit the road and go on Orgo missions for the Most High. We can accomplish so much. But like I said, I can only move as fast as the support is for this ministry.
It's hard to quantify how many followers Sherry Shriner had just because they didn't have a physical compound and they didn't have membership cards. But we can sort of estimate from things like fundraisers she had online that she had a lot of supporters.
Sherry's GoFundMe campaign was very successful. For someone who had a small following of maybe about 20,000 people, she generated over $774,000 over a 10-year period. The fact that she was able to
that's a shitload that's a hell of a lot of money in a 10-year period, 700,000. And that's the thing. That's another form of manipulation that they use. They'd be like, oh, I'm broke, or, I don't have much. I need your help. And that type of rhetoric on a consistent basis, people start to empathize and want to support. But lo and behold, they're not struggling at all. They're living very fucking well off of your donations. Best believe it. And just the fact that says she made over $750,000 in a 10-year period. That's a lot of money.
Generates so much revenue is astounding. It's actually mind-blowing.
So that's what we need to do, folks. I need more funds for that. I need paid bills. I need your support, folks. The clock's winding down. We can't go to sleep. We gotta fight back.
Sherry might have believed what she was selling, and she might have had some sort of religious conviction, but she still profited from it. She still monetized her YouTube channel. She still put advertisements on her website. She still sold orgone to earn money.
I think that she found her niche and followed it along. But it was the talking and the idea of having her followers more than the belief. It was the adoration and the money.
I always said I wasn't.
And that's what winds up happening. It's the adoration and money. That becomes more important than actually delivering the message for the Most High. And I truly believe that that's what happened with her. And it's happened with many other people I've seen. And it's unfortunate. And it's for anybody that's listening to this broadcast to take this as a learning lesson, that if you are somebody that's looking to build a platform or are building a platform, be humbled and understand what the purpose is. Let the purpose be the driving force in what you're doing, instead of it being the money. Because if it winds up being the money, you're going to start manipulating. It just comes with the territory. That's how Satan sneaks in, through vanity, which is pretty much through the ego.
I'm here to build an army. I'm here to wake one up. So I need your financial support. I need your help. I need warriors and countries to stand up. Go to my website, OregonBlasters.com. It's money well spent.
It's money well spent. So I'm going to play one more segment from this docuseries. And like I said, this is actually episode 4 of season 2 of The Devil You Know from Vice. And this is the Sherry Shriner story. The proof is in the pudding, people. The proof is in the pudding. And I think she put out some great information. But when you start going into that vanity and you start getting money hungry and you start wanting to manipulate people that are revering you, you better be very careful. That's why it's not good to revere. It's not good to venerate man or woman. There's no place for it, because it's only going to lead to confusion and destruction. So let's continue.
They're always trying to frame me as being a cult leader. And I really don't understand that one, because first of all, we all live in different various areas of the world. We don't live together as a commune. I don't lead anyone. I lead leaders. I teach. And so it just blows my mind. They always want to frame me as being some kind of cult leader.
And see, this is one thing with the grandiose narcissists, is that they're always looking for sympathy for something that's happening to them, instead of them being, practicing repentance and realizing, hey, maybe I am doing certain things the wrong way. Maybe I am doing something that's out of order. But instead of them repenting, they wind up creating excuses to make other people look like they're the ones that are crazy. They're the ones with the problem, and that there's nothing wrong with them, and that there's nothing that they have to fix.
There's criteria for a cult, and it's that someone has an unreasonable amount of power over you. There's a list. I don't think it matters. I don't think that there are enough cult boxes that Sherry doesn't check to not count. It took a special combination of personalities to make it dangerous, but it was always there. Sherry Shriner is not new. This is the same thing that happens all the time.
Facts. It happens all the time. She is not new. Mr. Cortez is not new. If anything, they're carbon copies of somebody that used to exist before them.
Someone wants money or power, and the only way they know how to get it is through fear and intimidation. Sometimes it's gangs, and sometimes it's internet bigotry.
And a lot of that fear and intimidation is why a lot of people won't leave these certain platforms, because they're fearful that they're going to be the next person on the chopping block from the supposed leader of the cult or the leader of the platform that's running the platform. I mean, it's sad, but true.
It's easy for me as a believer and former classmate of Sherry's to have a great deal of empathy for her as she got further down that path, where she would espouse these things that are counter to what she had known in her younger years was the truth. It's a tragedy of epic proportions based on the Sherry that I knew and the Sherry that we all saw in the end.
A lot of people would have called Sherry a cult leader. I think that was preposterous. To me, a cult leader is someone who is doing nefarious things. They're trying to lead you in a certain direction. They want you to sell all your stuff and move to the wilderness, drink the Kool-Aid, buy the white sneakers.
Now, what he's saying is true, but the reality is that Sherry was doing nefarious things, and she was suggesting to people. She's the one that told, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode. She told this guy, Steve Mineo, that's now dead, that got shot by his girlfriend. She told him to move to the woods in the Poconos. So she was doing that. This particular dude that's talking right now, he's got a strong mind. He's got a mind of his own. So he can appreciate Sherry, but at the same time, not venerate her, but respect her for the information that he was able to gain from her platform, which he's grateful for. Just like I'm grateful for all the different platforms that I follow and the information I'm gained. But I'm damn sure ain't never going to be no dick rider, and I'm not going to venerate no damn man or woman for that matter.
And kill yourself. Sherry never asked any of that. If you wanted to share Sherry's information, fine. If you didn't want to share her information, okay, that's your business. It's unfortunate that some people passed away, but I don't think Sherry had any part of that.
Now, she didn't have no part in it directly, obviously. That's for sure, because sometimes people are just weak and they got their own demons to battle. But the shunning definitely plays a part in it. And that's where she's responsible for. We have a responsibility with these platforms that if we're going to engage with people, if we're trying to give a message to people, we have to be willing to deal with people on a certain level. It doesn't mean that you have to become best friends with people, but you got to have a certain level of respect. And I think a lot of people that are like her is that they lose respect for the people that are following them because they think that they're better than them.
She didn't do this stuff to slap you in the face or be a mean old lady. She did this stuff because she cared. And I wish that you would be more loving before you judge Sherry on some of these deeper things and spend some more time researching it. And just ask yourself, are you being honest with yourself?
And that's the thing, brother, is that he's telling the truth. He did his research, but not everybody's like you. And that's the point I'm getting to, is that not everybody's like that. Certain people are just not going to do the research. They're going to rather hang on to what she's saying because they're blind followers. And that's the majority of people that join these types of networks and communities. Not everybody is like this Mr. Pittman dude, that he's going to do his own research. He's going to verify information based on his own research and not just go along with anything that he was hearing. And when he did that, he came to find out that a lot of the stuff that she was saying is true. Just like I knew a lot of stuff was true way before I listened to certain people's platforms. So when they would talk about this stuff, I was like, they get it. They understand. And that's what builds a certain level of respect to want to continue to listen to them, because you feel some type of compassion and camaraderie with this person. Like they get it. And you feel like you have somebody else that gets it just like you. And you want to connect to that, opposed to the person that doesn't, opposed to the person who's stuck in the matrix.
I didn't agree with everything Sherry said, but if you don't have the capacity to ask hard questions, you're a slave, whether you know it or not.
Facts.
I'm not going to stop. I don't care how many of them beg me to stop. I'm not here to stop. We're here to implement what the Lord has sent us to do and move forward. We're the Father's armies on earth, standing up against Satan and his evil armies and wickedness. I can't wait to see the look on people's faces when they realize everything I've ever been teaching for the last 20 years is true. They be shocked, huh? Either love me or hate me, but you're gonna be shocked. I can guarantee you that.
And there you go, people. So I hope that this episode has brought you great substance. I learned a lot from watching this docuseries. It brought a lot of awareness to me. It made me grateful to be the type of person to where I can agree to disagree and be able to do my own research and understand things for myself instead of just listening to somebody else. But I hope that you enjoyed this episode of How the Truth Gets Corrupted. And this is just one of many ways. And these types of people are nothing new. They're actually been around for a long time. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, the next episode is going to be the Prince of the Power of the Air, like I mentioned with Brother Akurai. And in the meantime, you know, until the next episode, I hope, like I said, you enjoyed this one. In the meantime, brothers and sisters, like I always say, don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Because the light is and always will be within you. Because the Most High is within all of us if we choose to accept it for what it is and build from it. So, light up that tunnel and find your way through the darkness, people. And when you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. So start your new beginning today in the present. This is already informationless from the network of awareness where the truth never gets compromised. And we always give praise to the Most High, to that which is and always will be and continues to be even in this present day. Peace, love, and light. Barak Atah. Until we meet again, brothers and sisters, be safe out there.